So, find the errors in this, guys. This guy, big class. This is the third time we've taught this class. So the class is still fluid, right? So every time we do it, we do something a little different. Safety glasses. Got to have safety glasses. Everybody got their safety glasses today? Need to have short pants or open-toed shoes, not allowed in the class. I can't wear synthetic clothes, not allowed in working around the manufacturing lines. So you can wear synthetics while we're sitting in class, but before we go to lab, you have to go down to the men's room and change. I'm a cotton person myself. Lockout, tag out rules and procedures must be followed. Do not perform any maintenance while any power source is energized. Now, maintenance means not troubleshooting, right? Maintenance means actually doing what? Repairing things, fixing things, right? Lubricating things and stuff like that. Even though sometimes you need to be able to follow the procedures at your plant, because sometimes they have it set up so you can lubricate without locking out. So it always verify lockout tag out has been achieved by verifying that all power sources have been disconnected and stored power has been drained. So electrical power is no big deal. Everybody's supposed to have their meter, right? Okay. Of course, we're going to be working this first lab we're going to do it as individuals. After this, most of our labs will be done in team labs. It looks like we'll only have two teams. One probably a 3 and a 4, or we might be 2 and 3. I think about that. That probably work out better. All power must be removed from the module while awaiting the instructor's sign off or help, or you'll end up with stuff I did back there, right? Tripping sensors and causing things to happen. No eating or dip bottles. There's no tobacco products allowed to be used in the classroom, right? Vapes, we don't let y'all vape in the classroom, even though some of those are not tobacco products. Because first of all, they make a lot of noise. I like you back there wheezing. My grandson uses that. My sons use that. All power must be removed from the module. I say, no beverages allowed on or near the manufacturing line. So I'm kind of breaking the rules of the college a little bit, guys, because according to our syllabus, no drinking, but I know it's, when we go to faculty meetings, they don't say anything about it. So, but we're just not going to bring any food in here, right? One thing, food attracts bugs and it gets in the keyboards of our computers. And plus it bothers me when people's trying to eat chips back there, digging into bags and munching. So we don't allow eating in the classroom, but we do allow, we'll let y'all bring drinks in here, but you need to keep them where? Over here, right? And when you get through, you dang bottles, what you need to do. If you're not through with them, you take them with you. So if y'all start leaving bottles and drinks in here, then we'll just follow policy, strictly follow college policy. No chairs allowed around the manufacturing line. We had one of our adjunct instructors teaching robotics, and I was over here, and I went over there, and the kids were over there flying around, just pushing themselves in chairs. They didn't get up and walk. That didn't go very long, did it, with me? Not following procedure will deduct from a student's lab grade. Experiments will be performed in teams of no more than 3 students. We might have to break that rule. In fact, that's why we'll probably go to a 2, 2, and a 3. But what we're going to do, or attempt to do, kind of like, anybody had fluid power? When we did the troubleshooting lab, we rotated teams, which would get you familiar the way it is in the industry. Almost no place are you going to work with the same people all the time. Just people going on vacation, right? Or they try to rotate shifts. So how they rotate shifts that year still depends on who you were working with. All entries, make sure everything that we do on our lab forms are done in what? Pencil. Before starting an experiment, obtain a blank lab grade form. Now understand that that's your grade. one form per student. Obtain a team maintenance form when performing troubleshooting labs. So what we got, we're going to try one form per team. So everybody, when you're doing a team lab, then the maintenance form, you're going to have one of those because you're working as a team. And the way we have it set up is one student is going to be the leader, and then the next student is going to be the assistant, right? You understand that? And then we're going to constantly do rotate positions, so everybody has a chance to be a leader and every chance has to be a position. And then I'll try to come up with some scheme so we can rotate people here. People being absent, yet somebody might be working overtime. So you'll almost never run into a situation where you're always working with exactly the same people every day. I've never had a job like that. So we have a maintenance form that we'll do when we start doing our maintenance labs. Lockout, tag out, won't need a maintenance lab, but anytime setting up the sequence, so we're going to go in and we're going to figure out the sequence that goes. And that's one of the labs you're going to do. We're going to figure out the sequence of the line, and then we're going to document that. So later on, we'll use that sequence guide for what? Troubleshooting, right? You understand? If we don't understand the sequence, then we don't know what's going on. If we understand what sensor has decided to make this decision, then right, we're okay. So we're going to do that. That's not going to require maintenance. Then we're going to come in and I'll start putting little bugs on it. Once you understand how it works, how it does, how to read these troubleshooting guides, then we'll start putting bugs in the system. I'll start out doing it and we'll let y'all do it. We'll let you put bugs in for other teams. But you got to let me know what the bugs are. When you're team leader, we don't have to do this. Normally when we get a big class, it gets very confusing. Here we shouldn't use, I don't think we use the sign-off sheet. Students must take turns as team leaders. So probably what we'll do on teams is I'll bring out 7 numbers. And then you'll pull a number and that'll be the team you start off with. And then after that we'll figure out a scheme on how to go with it, right? That makes sense? So it's going to be random. So you're not going to be able to choose your team. I've never worked at a place where you can choose your team that too. So you're going to take turns being team leaders. You're going to take turns being assistants. Each team it's going to be on the documents for your maintenance form. It's going to be on the documents for your lab grade form. Who's the leader? Who's not? Right. Each team must document the team leader in the space provided on the lab grade form and/or maintenance form. All team members that are present are responsible for the correct connections and operation of the module. So it's not, well, they did that, right? You were supposed to check that, right? It's always, you can't blame it on, in this situation, you can't blame anything on anybody. It's going to be the team's responsibility, right? Everybody understand that? So look out for each other. Team members will be rotated during the term. And like I said, I'll come up with a scheme. Teams, and what you're going to do is we're going to bring out whiteboards. We got a bunch of whiteboards in here. And what you're going to do while you're doing things, you're going to document it on the whiteboard. And then when we say, okay, that's it, we'll give y'all a certain amount of time. We can't give y'all an infinite amount of time to do these maintenance labs. And you'll basically come in and you'll tell us what you did, right? How you did, what you came up with, what you did. And then ask people have any questions, right? What's going on? So basically, you're training them on your module, right? Or what you did wrong, what you did right, right? If you didn't get it fixed, then what we'll probably do is open the floor up for suggestions. Well, we couldn't figure it out. What do y'all think we should have checked? So you're going to have to make a presentation and document these on our whiteboards. At every have instructor check your work procedure step, the instructor must initial your lab indicating the step have been successfully completed, skipping over supervisor's check or result in 0. Okay. I'm putting you to sleep. The instructor must perform a basic safety check after each troubleshooting lab that requires parts installation or rewiring. So we're going to simulate replacing bad parts. So we'll take a good part off and then do what? Put it back on. And if it requires calibration, we'll have to do what? Recalibrate it. Once your team is confident that the module is working as prescribed, have the instructor check the module's operation and initial your experiment pages. The lab grade form and maintenance forms will, when required. Before the lab is checked off, questions will be asked by the instructor to determine if the team members understand the module's operation experiment. And this is going to come during your presentation, right? So I definitely will ask you questions about during presentation. And then after that, we'll sign off the lab. But you're still going to let me know when it's over there so I can give it a basic check right now before y'all put power on it, right? Students will not be awarded points for portions of an experiment completed by team members when you are absent or tardy. When the absent or tardy team member returns, he or she must continue the lab at the point of which your present team member. So you can see it's going to be almost impossible. Well, it is impossible to make up labs. Right? You understand that? Now, what we do is we scale the lab. We'll drop a lab, right? You understand that? We'll make up for maybe you having to be absent, right? And I understand that. So missing one lab day is not going to affect you that much. It won't affect you at all. But not unless you make real low on another lab. Missing multiple lab days is really going to affect you, which is the same as work. So if you don't show up at work, you don't get what? Hey, not unless you're married. We do. We get sick days. We get one sick day a month, and then we get 5 personal days a year. If you don't use your personal days, they roll over to sick days. And I was out of work for a year and 3 months. And how many paychecks did I miss? And then if we retire, we get to count that toward your service, the sick leave that we don't use. So it's kind of an incentive not to. Each team must complete a lab grade form for each experiment, only one maintenance form per team. I'll put that in there a couple of times because people will try to adapt that. They'll try to turn in or staple a bunch of lab forms together, and they're not to be stapled together. They're individual grades, right? You understand that? And I have to go in there. I had that problem on PLC classes last time. Lab grades and maintenance forms are not to leave the classroom. All lab grade forms and maintenance forms must be turned in to the instructor. And I don't know where our boxes are, guys. All I see is solid state. I'll have to find them. So what you do is, we're going to have 2 boxes or 2 places. We're going to have one say labs not ready to be graded, and the other one's going to be labs to be graded, right? When you're ready to get a lab graded, you do what? Put it in the one said ready to grade it. When you leave here, if we're not through with the lab, you'll put it in what? Not ready to be graded. That makes sense. Any questions on that? We okay? That happened last semester. Guy said, well, I can't find my lab forms. I can't find my lab forms. I've looked through this drawer all over the place. That's where they put it at. In the labs to be graded, yeah. The completed experiments must be turned in and with all written questions answers before the beginning of the next class meeting after all the circuits and experiment. We usually don't have that problem here. Complete experiments that experiments that require the questions must be turned in with all experiment questions answered at the beginning of the next class. So normally if the lab's got questions in it, we don't require you can't take the lab form out, but you can take the lab, right? You understand? And you can answer the questions at home. You don't have to try to do that now. And I keep the lab forms to the labs to the end of the semester. Here's lab grade. Here's an example of the lab grade form. So one thing you need to put up here is your what? So this is your name. This is your partner name. So we got 2 people, Fernando Wolfmiller and Johnny Carson. Who's the group leader during this? Johnny Carson, right? You understand that? So this and this might be the same. Lab 2, the title of the lab. So the title lab we're going to do is lockout, tagout, right? Right? Then you're going to keep up with how much time it took you to complete the lab. You're going to put the date and not the time. I have to tell people that I'll see 1:15 p.m. on there, you know, because I don't want the time, because that wouldn't make any sense, you know, because I didn't know how, if I was paying you and you put your finish time and you didn't put your start time, it would mean nothing for me, right? So this is the actual time that you're work on there to the merest half hour. And then this is where I grade you. Following instructions, required supplies, right? Miscellaneous, which I can make up stuff. Now we leave that because things pop up just about every semester that's not on the list. Right? Are you okay there? Lab forms. And then I'll sign it down at the bottom. Now here's an example of a maintenance form. Everything that's in the gray will already be in there. So you're about to put what? The leader comes first, price line. The second technician comes next. And then for the three people here, we'll probably use 2 in one group. The time you received, the time you put, the time it was received. So whoever takes in the gripes, that's received. This is when you actually put it in one. And work. And then this is the date and the time that it was completed. So if you work an 8-hour shift and, you know, then you wouldn't put your complete date if you didn't finish it that day, right? You understand what I'm saying? Looks like I left out, I understand. So that's the actual date it was completed. So the date completed might be 3 days after it was what? Started. That makes sense. Time in work. This is what we charge the people right here. Very, very important. Right? And then, of course, we have total man hours. So this is the time the right was in work. And this is the total man hours. So how many people's in the group? You take the time in work and multiply it by what? 2, right? Everybody okay? Everybody listening, right? What's wrong? Discrepancy. This is where I'll probably fill it in, because I'm the operator, and if that fails on me. So usually the operators are the ones that supports the problems, and then somebody else is going to fill in it on the maintenance form. Then what you need to do is what? This is the action taken. It's not everything you did. If you want to document everything you did, you should be doing it on the whiteboard, right? You understand? But if you need a place to write, flip the thing over. This is what action you took to replace the problem. Found part present sensor B1 to be defective, replaced. And then what we'll do is go down here and say the part description used, quantity, and we're working on the part numbers. Festo, when they sold their manufacturing line, they gave us every part number for everything on there. Amtrol did. So that's not available. Are we okay? Point deductions, you can see the point deductions on yourself. And that's basically it. Any questions on the lab? Yes, no? Indifferent? Y'all are everybody okay? Any questions on anything on there? Okay, so y'all have been here for a while, so there's no leeway on this class of getting a Murphy, right? What they call it on golf? Mulligan. We don't have mulligans in this class. So that means if you don't follow these instructions, and I have to tell you to do something, then like if you don't go over there and check that power if you turn it off without a voltmeter, that's going to cost you 10 points on a 50-point lab, right? In real life, it could cause you dead on a 50-point lab, right? You understand that? So you got to be really, really careful, because just about everything on this list has a deduction to it. Everybody okay? All right. That's what we're fixing to do. Fixing to do a lab.